Prepare yourself.
The opinions of the host and guests on this show are exclusively just that, opinions. That means that they shouldn't be the cause of your state of being offended. Why does everybody get so butthurt?
Okay, let's go. Ready, go!
Welcome to And God Created Woman, where the arguments are necessary for the best make-up sex of your life. Unless you're single, and then we suggest you just go fuck yourself.
All right, And God Created Woman podcast. Dominic Izzo, we're back. It's been a while since we were on the show. We have Jessie Lee Ward with us today. If you like the stuff that you're seeing, hearing, share it. Put that stuff out there. Hit that subscribe button if you're watching on social media, and just join in the fun. All right, my guest, I've had her on other podcasts and talks about, just Jessie Lee Ward, entrepreneur, massive businesswoman, the people's mentor, an extremely grandiose personality, very, very powerful woman. And I've been trying to get her on a podcast for a long time on this specific subject because we have a lot to talk about on how women like her survive in a day and age where men fucking suck because we're all cucks. So, number one, Jessie Lee, thanks for joining today. Appreciate you coming on.
Hey, Dominic, I'm excited to be here. So this is, it's actually like my favorite thing to talk about, but I don't talk about it all the time on the internet, obviously. Like you said, I allude to things. Yeah, I'm like, I turned my air conditioning down, actually. I'm not an air conditioning person. I'm like, I feel like I'm going to sweat on this podcast. So we better turn the air conditioning down.
Going to push on this one. All right, so we need to start with a 360-degree view of who you are. So who is Jessie Lee Ward? That's where we have to start because we have to start at the base of the foundation of the woman. I want to know who the woman is, and we're going there, and then what the woman's problems are with, my gender and species in this day and age.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I usually know how to answer that, right? Usually I answer from a business perspective. I'm a super powerful, successful female entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I'm the number one network marketer in the world, but then that's allowed me to become an investor. I own traditional businesses. I live in Frisco, Texas, if it matters to anybody. I'm a dog mom, crazy dog mom. I don't know. I love to travel. I love cars. I don't know, the finer things in life.
Is it safe to say you're independent?
What's to say?
Is it safe to say that you are the definition of like an independent woman?
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So you've paved your way. You've set the standard. And the one thing that I keep bringing back to you is that you don't fit your generation. You're far beyond them. Your generation comes from a generation that's entitled, needs to be taken care of. You break the mold. You're more of like my generations or even the baby boomer generations. That being said, you're an independent woman, but you live in a day and age where it seems like you also have values as well too. One of the things we like to talk about in this podcast is the relationship between men and women, the roles that they play, all the way from marriage to sex to faith, you name it, everything. I want to start with a general question. Okay. How hard is dating in your generation in general? And then how hard is it dating in your generation as Jessie Lee, who's an independent woman?
Well, it depends on how you want to answer the question. So me getting dates, very easy. Okay. I guess some people are just listening, but, and I don't say this to sound like a bragging bitch or anything, but I'm attractive. Okay. So, dates are not a problem. Like I get asked out all the time. I get DMs constantly. I go to events and I get it doesn't matter. Like I get a lot of this. This is no problem. The attraction part is not an issue. But I am for sure a demisexual and even worse, possibly a sapiosexual. So, and then I'm just picky. I'm just very, 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 very picky. So dating in this day and age, I think is actually not that difficult for not only just for me, but I think that dating apps and things like this have made it really easy. I think the Explore page on Instagram has made dating very easy. I think social media and having a social media presence has made it easier. I think there's parts of this whole women trying to be equal to men in every single way thing has made it easier because women are a little bit more bold. I think that the actual dating thing is not difficult. And I think for most people, relationships aren't difficult. For me, I intimidate men a lot. And it's interesting because in private relationships, I'm a completely different woman than in business relationships. And so the issue though becomes men feel emasculated, quite frankly, by my success. It's not actually my personality. It's not how I behave as a woman. It's not how I speak to them. It has nothing to do with me. It's my level of financial success makes dating very difficult, even though I fit, you mentioned just kind of, age and stuff like that, but I fit a lot more of the traditional roles of a female. So I was raised by my grandparents. So that gender role kind of thing, I love gender roles actually, which maybe we can get into that. But yeah, I think it's an intimidation problem, but I'm not struggling.
I come from a background where, like, when I dated as a cop, it was either the two things. We either dated female cops or strippers. End of story. And the problem with dating female cops is a lot of female cops will act that alpha on the surface, and then at home, they want the man to stand up. But there's a lot of challenging, too. The couple of female cops that I dated, they want, you to be just lead and lead and lead. But when you start leading, that alpha kicks in and challenges everything the man's leading. It's shit testing. Do you find yourself ever in a position where you've got a higher status in some aspects of a lot of men? Do you ever find that guys will represent themselves to date you, court you, get in your pants, but then when the vulnerability starts to sit in, do you ever see them kind of like fail to really be men, or do you subconsciously shit test them? Or what's that like after the initial thrill, if you will, for longevity?
Yeah. So it ends up being me that cuts men off. It's not vice versa, actually. So men start acting different. Sometimes when they realize the money, sometimes when they realize the lifestyle, and then sometimes they put it on really, really heavy. I don't know what the word, someone told me what this word is. I think it's like love bombing or something.
Yeah.
Like they're like, holy crap, she's soft, she's feminine, she's successful, she's wild, she's all this, she's all the whatever, and then they go way too much, and you can see them turn from the alpha male that I'm really attracted to into this beta position. If I showed you some text messages, even from today, this guy that I went on 2 dates with, who I'm just not even texting back because it's like, you're being feminine now, like you're trying so hard. It's a string of endless texts that I'm just not responding to. And it's so unattractive. I don't even know if I'm answering the question. It's just like, yeah, what the hell's the actual question? I don't know. Ask the question a different way.
In the concept of it, right? Because we know that if I don't think you want to be a man in a relationship. I think you want a man to be a fucking man. And the problem that the younger generation has now is there's a balance. As a man, there's a balance between being everything for a woman and making sure she has everything, but also cutting her off when she needs to be cut off. It's women do subconsciously want to know that a man's a man, either by put in a place or whatever. But I have to wonder how many men will love bomb you because they want to make sure that they capture and they attain. You're a trophy. You're a trophy. So how much of that damage is done when a man goes to impress you and shows the alpha side, and then all of a sudden he's got it, and he's like, "Hey, do you like me? Are you really into me?
Okay.
When does that start to go on?"
That's exactly what happens. So I can tell you way too many stories of that, where it's that damage thing. It's like, I want to be whatever. Fuck it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. I want everything to be controlled in my personal life. Okay. So like, I am so alpha and dominant in my business life. And I mean everything. I control every single decision made I shouldn't say every single decision, but almost every decision made in all of my companies, of which there are many. Okay. I'm the person that gets to make final decisions on every single thing, whether it's ordering product, whether it's a compensation structure, whether it's hiring and firing, whether it's whatever. I get final say. If I want to pull the plug on something, it's me, right? If I want to change up an entire marketing structure last minute, it's me. If I want to change anything, right, where I want to put my investment funds, even if my business manager says, oh, but I think it'd be better here, I get the final say. If he says, don't put $1 million here, and I go, I want to put $1 million there, I get to put $1 million there. It's me. Open 2 more LLCs. I want to buy this Airbnb. I want to do this. It's me. I get to be dominant, like crazy. And it's like, as soon as there is a man who wants to dominate, my soul is like, oh, yes.
Do you give? Do you
everything.
Do you communicate that, or do you?
Oh yeah.
A parallel problem.
Because I want to talk about the damage part. Because like I communicate it very clearly. Like if we were to go on a date, I will not even order food. Like you need to order my drink, my food, tell me what to wear, what time to be ready. You pick me up, tell me, like I'm obsessed with this. And then from there, like I want everything planned. Don't like literally don't ask me anything. I don't even want opinions. I know this sounds so crazy to some people listening. They're like, that's psychotic. That is the role I like to play, period. So, and men get it at first, right? And I like the romance too. So it's this really fine dance. So I love when you surprise me with stuff. I love the random flowers. I'm like, oh my God, like we haven't even been on a date yet. Here's some flowers. Ooh. I like when I get sent, like gifts. I really do. I like when I get the text messages that are like sweet and sexy and playful and whatever, because it makes me feel like little, like I like the good girl thing, right? So I like all of this. And then but then yes, when the emotions almost come too quickly, or that's damaging. You said, when does the damage get done? I started writing it down, right? That happens when it's too much. I feel like, and again, this is going to throw some people off. I don't want to feel like you're equal when we're sitting somewhere. I don't. I want to feel small. I want to feel protected. I want to feel like
safe,
like a little girl. I don't know, like safe. Yeah. The damage starts happening for, I think, powerful women, not just me, when it's too much at once. It's like almost too heavy. It's super emotional. I was in, I don't know what country, but I was with Mateo and Sasha, my two friends, and we are literally platonic friends. People always ask, okay. No sex, no kissing, no anything. We're just whatever. Just really good friends. And there was a guy, I don't remember what country, and it was like instant obsession. He was super dominant. And then after our time together, it was so aggressively, I'm so into you. I'm so emotional. I've never felt like this. And I was letting Sasha read these text messages, and Sasha, who is a very dominant man, he goes, ugh, like dominance. Ugh. Like he literally went like, ugh. I went, I know. Like, how do you submit to somebody that's like, ugh? So that's really, I think, where like the damage comes in.
Do you think that your persona online has something to do with the confusion about how men know how to react? And there's two parts of this. I get it, where every woman in the world thinks that the guy that they see online, which is me until I'm quiet, right? Because when the camera's off, I'm a high functioning introvert. So I sit there and, why aren't you talking? Why aren't you ranting? Why aren't you doing this? Because I'm me, right? There's a part of where they're like, oh, wow, you're actually sensitive and vulnerable to some degree. It's like, yeah, I am. Yeah. So do you think that has something to do with you? And the second part to that is the nonverbal communication. You want a man to come out of nowhere and be like, you get a text message that says, black dress, nothing underneath, choker, these shoes, be ready, boom. And then and then she'll have this. You want that communicated and then perpetuated within having respect, because you're not an object, without you having to tell a man. In other words, does it take kind of out of it if you have to tell a man, hey, listen, I want you to tell me what to dress in. I want you to go order my food. When you have to tell a man that and kind of tell his role, does that lessen the attraction for you? So that's the two parts of those.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions there. So vulnerability is still really sexy. It's just, it needs to be at the right time. So I find in relationships that I like, it's a very much like a yin and a yang sort of thing. I don't want a man who is like hyper dominant, crazy all the time. So like you mentioned the, like you're not always ranting, you're not always whatever. Like my partnerships, and like I'm like, just because I'm single does not mean that I am alone. Okay. So I think some people on the internet think that, oh God, is she like this? I am not like an old maid, okay? Like here's Xandra again. My poor Xandra sees my DMs. She sees, she's like, Jessie, wait. I'm like, she's like, the other day, it is too early in the morning for men to be sending you these messages. I'm like, no, it's not. Shit, I might wake up and want some right now. What are you talking about, Xandra? Get out of here. All right, but she's like, literally laughing and walking off. Like, but there's a time and a place. I want to have that deep connection. I love the deep connection I have with people. I want to have the friendship. I want to have, a side of you that only I get to see. It's just, there are places that you better just be dominant. Like, I don't want to see the vulnerability. So like, I think one thing that people could do that might be a good takeaway for some people is like, and maybe it's not the bedroom, but I'm gonna use the bedroom as an example. when you are done your scene or whatever you want to call it, I don't have romantic conversations laying in bed. Okay. This is just not the place. Like for me, because for me, it's like there's like things happening there. When I leave there, then we can have those conversations over dinner. We can have those conversations on the couch. We can have those conversations on a walk together. I want you to be, vulnerable and open and honest, because quite frankly, the kind of dynamics I like, trust is 100%. Okay. It's like the most important thing. So there's that. The nonverbal communication part, the wear this, do that. Like I'll start drooling even thinking about it. Right. Like something shows up at my house. Hey, there's a gift for you. It's coming at whatever time. Huh? And again, that goes back to being a smart girl. So that's a sapiosexual thing. I like when my brain starts running, when my brain is coming up with scenarios, and my brain is thinking, oh my gosh, this man's going to surprise me, because I like surprises, but that's because I like the fear part of whatever, right? Which is a different topic. But like, I like not knowing what's going on. Like I saw your face.
You've been handcuffed. You've been handcuffed, blindfolded, thrown in the back of a trunk somewhere. We know what you've done.
So anyway, does it take me out of what was the last part of it?
Does it take away the attraction when you have to give a man a signals for these things?
Hey, okay. So back to whatever. I hope everybody has conversations before you ever have a romantic moment with anybody. And this is something people do not do. And so I hope they're listening to this conversation and go, oh, that's a really good idea. Like, and it weirds people out. I saw your post actually the other day. I said, I don't want to talk about it now, but I'll talk about it later. I figured you might bring it up. It is really attractive for me to go over limits with somebody before I ever meet you, or things I like what are your kinks? What are my kinks? Well, we are not compatible. This is not going to work. Right. Or maybe I don't want to waste my time, maybe whatever, but like my sexual arousal template, if it completely does not match yours and the way you talk to people is completely out of alignment with how I like to be spoken to. And if you want to be treated a certain way, like you want people used to think that I was dominant in the bedroom. Right. So this is in the past, but I used to attract submissive men. I would like to know before I go on a date. And I'm like, what am I doing here? This is not good for me. So no, it does not ruin the attraction. If anything, this is really where I want to slow down so people hear this. That is so attractive. Like it tells me that you are experienced. It tells me that you are mature. It tells me that you know what you're looking for. It tells me that you probably are actually interested in this being something that is mutually beneficial, because that's really important. And so no, it is not a turnoff. And again, back to communication. If you don't like something in your relationships, whether that is communication style, whether that is, like I said, like sexual template style, whether that is whatever, use your words. People are having terrible relationships because they literally don't use their words. And so it does not take away attraction when somebody asks questions.
You think that by
it's very attractive
going through that, then that's going to put a position and a man's going to be listening to you and valuing what you have to say. So it's almost like a vetting process. Like if he's not going to hear what I'm saying, then you're just talking for your own health. But if he's actually hearing what you're saying, then you may find him a little bit more attractive because he's actually taking the time to learn you in that process.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and again, this is like my lifestyle. It doesn't have to be anybody else's. So it might weird people out to have conversations like that, but then we're just not the same. Like I don't expect everybody to understand that. I think some people might listen to that and say, this is so weird. You would talk about all these things before you ever go on a date. Yeah, because I'm an adult. Yeah.
The post there yesterday the other day came from with somebody. My DMs are blowing up all the time and they're always like, hey, I would date you, this and that. And I have a self-sabotaging methodology where it's like, okay, this is what I'm into. This is what I expect. This is what I want. Oh my God, why would you bring that up right away? My thought is because there's nothing worse than 3 months goes by and you feel a connection with somebody and go, hey, I'd like you to bring in a rubber chicken and a lampshade tonight, and I'm going to sing Ethel Merman show tunes while I fuck you, and have her go, if I had known this, I never would have dated you. So that's where the pain comes in. So when I say that off the bat, people are like, oh, I'm not wasting my time. We're not compatible.
Yeah.
Where does the line blur? You're in a relationship, you're connecting, you know the roles, submissive, dominance. Where does the line blur where, it could be your day off, your night off, whatever. You leave the home with the guy that you're investing in and you're still Jessie Lee Ward in public. And no matter where you go in public, you're your brand. How where does does he take a back seat at that point? Do you find that less attractive when you're out in public and then people recognize you and all of a sudden he submits and kind of Homer Simpsons into the bushes? Where do you expect that man to continue his alpha and leadership when there's no line blurred between Jessie Lee Ward, personal and private, with your supporters?
Okay, I'm gonna try to figure out how to word this so it's not like too. It depends. So it depends on the dynamics of the person that I'm currently dating. It does happen, of course, especially in town where, I'm more known by people. It could be a couple things. It could be a look that the person that I'm okay, I'm not monogamous. Okay. So let's go there. But in Frisco, it's one person, all the time. Nobody has ever seen his face. Nobody knows his name. Nobody knows what country he's from, whatever. A couple people have wrote I saw you holding hands with someone. Da, 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 da. I'm yeah, okay. There's no photos, there's no video, there's no evidence, there's no nothing. But I know exactly who you saw him with. He's sexy as fuck, isn't he? Yeah, he is. Okay. So anyway, but that's just Frisco. And then, you go to Greece and you got to do it. No, I'm kidding. But,
no, you're not.
I'm really not. So, but anyway, we've had the conversation. This goes back to the conversation. This goes back to what dynamics are you actually setting as an adult in a relationship with somebody. So in a situation like this, he knows that I'm super powerful. He knows I run very successful businesses. He knows I'm really well known in this area. He knows if we happen to travel together that people are going to recognize me as well, especially if it happens to be some kind of conference or something like that. But I never, ever, ever emasculate a man. Okay. It's not in my template. Just no. So I would always introduce, this is so-and-so, the people that would run into me would get to know, well, you actually wouldn't know his real name, but you would know a name, whatever, it's just part of whatever confidentiality we do. And then from there, it could be something really sexy. He could say something he might be I like when you're the boss in public, but you're my little girl when we get back or something, or whatever, I'm just giving you ideas or something. Mm-hmm. There could be that little power exchange right there in that moment. And that little power exchange right in that moment will flip me back into okay, yeah, I'm yours. That, it's a conversation. It goes back to, how are you communicating? Are you communicating what you like? Are you communicating what your partner likes? Are you flipping back into the role? Are you going back from feminine to masculine to feminine, and back and forth? I can flip really, really quickly.
Yeah, you were talking about that before. I want to get into that a second, you flowing in and out of masculine, female energy. But something you said, too, is kind of like blood in the water for sharks. When you say, I'm not monogamous, men like me are trophy to be fucking had. We love the challenges like that. So when you put that out there, and it's a choice, because I know, God, I don't know about you, but I'm throughout my life, it's always been, you don't mean that you want to be single. You don't mean that you don't want this. Yeah, I mean it. If I say it, I mean it. So when you're choosing to be how you are, which is a choice, I can't stand people who are they would probably go, Jessie Lee, you just need to have one person. It's not what you want. But when you do that, do you think you do it subconsciously because you know that the sharks like me out there are going to go, I got to have her now? Because we're going to hunt, and then all of a sudden it's going to increase your market value for men trying to get with you? Do you think you do that on purpose?
Okay, so I would be a liar because I've never had the answer before, to just say no. Subconsciously, I'm over here probably. Yeah, there's probably some of that in there. And I'm not opposed, quite frankly, to a relationship like that. It's just, I get bored like this. And that's also part of the conversation I have with somebody right when I start dating them. If you are not constantly pushing and challenging me and making me think different things, and we're upping the ante, in private, and we're doing all these things, and you're romancing me at the same time that you're teaching me things and I'm teaching you things, and there's all this, then you don't stand a chance. You're basically down to you got a week. And I've totally lost interest, right? And so the best thing that these people can do is just push it. I'm not opposed to finding the perfect freak, I don't know. So maybe that attracts more sharks or whatever. But there's been plenty of people who have really thought that they were going to date me, have brought, what is this? I'm huh? and I know that's what they're doing. They're an alpha man trying to be like, well, what is this? I'm just wondering where you are with this. I'm like, well, what are you?
Shouldn't they be defining it?
It's nothing, and then it turns into, oh, well, because then I put these men on my close friends just because I'm not trying to like lie about anything, right? And then, whoa, you're so, like this one man, he was wonderful, but not, whatever, too far of distance. It was perfect for what it was. But then he asked, like, what are we? And then he's like, you're too wild. I said, baby, what were you thinking you were trying to tame? And so that goes back to set the standard at the beginning of the entire conversation. And at any rate, so I think more people need to be open to the idea that you don't know what you think you know. So like if I go back to, I've never said this to anyone. Oh my God. And this is like public
You're welcome.
knowledge. Okay. So like people that knew about my my last relationship was when I got back in a relationship with somebody from my past, but it was a totally different dynamic. And I didn't know he was married, by the way. So it's like a totally different thing. I'm all about ethical non-monogamy, if that's your thing. I'm all about polyamory, if that's your thing. I'm all about whatever, just like have open conversations. Like the whole thing was under contract. And like, that's going to sound so weird to people, but people don't understand like BDSM contracts. So like, they're going to freak out and go, what the hell is that? Just Google it. I don't have time to teach you this right now. The whole thing was a contract. Like we had everything outlined, the whole entire dynamics of the relationship, everything that the standards he had, the way he had to communicate, the way I had to communicate, things to wear, things to see, times we were going to see each other. Everything was in contract. Okay. I've never said that to anyone. Well, my best friend, everyone knows now. Okay. Whatever. But then he broke contract by lying. And so if you are in any kind of relationships like this is why I think I love this kind of lifestyle is it's communication to a whole other level. Okay. The level of trust you have to have in something is a completely different level. Also, because some of the shit we do is dangerous. Okay. So like as soon as the lying happened, people are like, how did you get over it so fast? I'm like, I got over it literally so fast because you broke my trust. The word cheating fascinates me, just to kind of get on like this whole whatever, because the only thing that is cheating, the only thing is what you and your partner decide is cheating. This messes people up when I say that. And I'm like, it's not cheating to sleep with other people if you and your partner have decided it's not cheating. It's not cheating to flirt with other people if you and your partner have decided that it's not cheating. Because people go, it's emotional cheating. Only if you say it is. Like you got to start challenging what society is telling you. You got to start thinking a little bit differently, a little bit outside the box. The only reason that relationship was, oh, hell no, was not because he lived across the country, was not because we only saw each other once a month, was not because an age gap, was not because of anything. It was because he lied.
I think you just solved the problem for women to pay attention to by being in a position to afford anything you want. You just eliminated why women come up with the boredom reasons, right? And what you talked about a few minutes ago was a man constantly leveling up in a relationship to challenge you, right? You removed the financial aspect. Most men, when we hear what women get bored over, women can't identify what they want. And most men will, here's a new car, here's a new this. It's always monetary is the default level. And that doesn't challenge a man or raise a man's ability. So I think you just identified when you remove the financial aspect of it and a man has to challenge himself to keep your interest, I don't think there's anything wrong with that because you're constantly sharpening a man in the first place. So I think what you just solved was that women are so fucking flighty at times that we need men to constantly be sharpening themselves to keep a woman's, it's not interest, attraction to them. And I think that you just really hit something on the nail with removing financial, because most women will be like, I don't know what I want. I want flowers. No, you don't. You want a man to step his game up, and you just nailed that. So that's it
is the growth together, right? If you want to be attracted to somebody, at least in my mind, you've got to grow together. And so I don't want money from you. You know, I don't want money. I want things money can't buy, quite frankly. Period. And I think most women want that. I think women think that they want the trips and they think that they want the cars and they think they want the jewelry and the whatever else. And it's not to say you don't want that, but I also think intelligent women know they can earn that on their own. Well, what can't I have on my own? Right? What are the things that a man literally has to separate himself from the pack with? You know, are you going to grow with me? Are you going to challenge me? Are you going to make me, you're going to put me in my place when I need to be put in my place? Are you going to say, hey, whoa, I'm calling you out on that, because people won't call me out because I'm so powerful. Right. There's a lot of stuff like that. You know, I like the chivalry. I like the old school, whatever. I like a man to be a man. It just is what it is. And so I think a lot of women, especially, okay, let's just be honest. I'm friends with a lot of really, really powerful women. And this is a conversation I've never had online. I've never had open. So I'm kind of glad you're pushing my limits here a little bit. It's cool. we're all saying the same things behind closed doors. No one else has just been public about it. There's no other woman I know that's made anywhere near as much money as I've made that's having conversations like this. But behind closed doors, we're all friends. And every single one of us sits there and have a cocktail, 2 cocktails, no cocktails, doesn't even matter. And we're all saying the exact same thing. These powerful women you think are like, oh, she's so like, okay, like in your mind right now, think of like the most powerful woman you know. That woman is trying to get dominated. I'm just telling you right now. And it's not through what you might think it is. It's probably through your mind and through her mind.
It's submission. I give people my secrets all the time. It's a daddy role for me. Every fucking woman, I don't care who it is, I give orders. I play cop. It's always been the same damn thing. And women like that controlling status to a degree. I want to talk about your fluidity from female energy, feminine energy to masculine energy. And you talked about on the podcast the other day that you learned to discover that. What was that journey like where you had that balance, and how did it stumble upon you? Were like, dude, I'm being too much of a fucking guy here. I got to be a little bit more feminine.
Yeah.
Or was it the other way around?
Another story I've never told him. I hope my best friend's watching because she's just going to be like, listening or whatever. But she's the only one who knows some of these stories. So I was engaged when I was 19. Let's start there. And and we're still friends. So maybe he'll listen to, I don't know. And he's awesome. You know, he is a spicy freaking Puerto Rican man. He's still hot. You know, I was like, wow, he's smart, he's talented, all this stuff. Right. And we were really great together, except I did not know that I was a sub. Okay. And when you are a sub who does not know you are a sub, so maybe this is people listening to this will also be like awoken from this conversation. You are challenging constantly and you can't explain why. Like, I cannot explain why I pushed this man and pushed this man and pushed this man. And like, it got to the point I broke off our engagement, not because he wasn't amazing and not because I'm not amazing and whatever else. I broke off our engagement because one day I gave him a look and I will never forget. I went, and he jumped and went right into this like, okay, yeah. What do we want to do? And I went, and I was only 20 at the time, and I knew I was going to ruin his life. Now, I didn't know that I was submissive, okay? I didn't know I was craving being put in my place. I didn't know I wanted him to throw me across the room consensually, okay? I didn't know I wanted him to fill in the blanks. I didn't know all this stuff. I just knew that I wanted someone to control the situation, and it is not him, right? And all I knew was I'm like, something is wrong with me. And I literally thought something was wrong with me. I'm 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 even years old. No, that's not true. 23 years old. And I think something is wrong with me. So we break up, right? And this is like, this is when you start finding out who you are, right? Life experiences. I wish more people would have more life experiences, not be so damn judgmental.
Who was the older guy that put you on the path?
Okay, let's get there. So I'm 23 years old.
You know what it is? I'm going to pause you for a second, because what you described, this is the root of the daddy issues that women talk about. Women will what you did is it's subconscious shit testing. Women are attracted to people like their fathers for one of two reasons. Number one, when they say that they want the bad guys, it's not they want the bad guys. What they're doing is one of two things. Can I change him to be more like my father was? Or was he a bad guy like my father was? What you described with that face you made, it's the same fucking face a 2-year-old toddler makes to her father when she says no. He says no, and she goes, what? She's testing him to see, am I safe? Is he going to protect me? Is he going to discipline me and still fucking love me afterwards? That's all that fucking is, and more women need to understand that. So yeah, you could tell right off the bat, the answer to what you went to next was an older man. That's where that had to have gone.
Yeah, it was only a couple years, but it's true. So yeah, I was 23 years old, and I was like kind of jumping around in relationships, and it's interesting because I was like, so here's what a lot of people think. Okay, so this is not necessarily me, but I'm trying to like take people through this journey of discovering who you are. So this is actually not necessarily Jessie Lee's story. Okay. So what I found was then I was like, oh, I think I just like rough sex. Okay. So a lot of people think this. They think, oh, I just like rough sex, which maybe you do. Okay. But that was kind of then what I was chasing. I'm like, oh God, like this is boring over here, and this is boring over here, and this is too romantic over here, and this is like I didn't know really what I was into. But there was this boy. This is not a boy, but like he's only 2 years older than me, and like it was like this crazy rough, like a psycho, like not a dom, just like a psychopath. Okay, and he was crazy, but then I was addicted. Okay, so hopefully I'm speaking to some people right now that are like, this is my story. Oh my God.
That's what we call, you got a ruthless dicking.
Sure, yes. Okay. And I'm like, I'm addicted. I'm texting my friends like, I gotta go back to this. Like, I still remember the text where he sent me a message. This is a freaking decade ago when I remember this. More than a decade ago, this man who's just like destroying me. I'm like leaving looking wounded, right? Not knowing what the hell's going on. I don't know what's happening. I'm 23 years old, this is early 23 or something. And like he sent a text message that was like, you just like it because I'm your sadist J. Like his name started with a J. And I remember being like, I don't even know what that means. And I Googled it. I'm like, sadist. I'm like, sadist. And then I'm like, am I a masochist? Like, I'm like, wait, what? Like, I'm like, so then I'm having this, and I hope people listening again are like, oh my God, they're awakening their own selves right now. I'm like, what does that even mean? Oh, something is like, is this childhood trauma? What is like, I'm thinking I'm psycho. Like, I don't know. I'm 23 years old. I'm a kid. I'm trying to figure out who the hell I am. I'm over here. I can't stop thinking about this guy, texting this guy who is clearly a psycho. Yes, sadist, sure, but psycho sadist, okay? But I'm addicted to this, like, and it wasn't subspace yet being a keyword, because then a guy that was like the star of the football team that I went to high school with, and I shouldn't give too many details because you could do like enough Googling probably to find in my past who this person is, but he's like the star. Okay. And I literally can't give any, like he was like famous in my town. Okay. Several years older than me, finds me on Facebook. I'm 23 years old. And I'm like, okay. Hi. He messages me. So you went to Middletown High School? And I'm like, yes. Hi. Now I know who he is because he's freaking famous. He's on the football team, right? He's years older than me, like, wow. I'm like, like, is this man really messaging? And he was like famous in our town for other reasons too, which like I'm literally not saying because then everyone will know. And I'm like, oh my God, like he XYZ. I'll call him. I need to give him a name. Give me a name. I don't know. Sam.
We already know he's going to be one of the biggest disappointments. So.
No. No. Okay. So I'm going to call him Sam. Okay.
Sure.
So Sam, he's like, I'm like, yeah, of course I know who you are, Sam. Like everybody knows who you are. And he's like, well, I don't think you went to school with me because I would have remembered you. And I went, no, I was invisible. And he said, what do you mean? I said, I was the fat, nerdy band kid. He's like, well, you're not anymore. And I would love to go out with you. And I'm like, yeah. And at the time, I'm just, like I said, looking for more of these crazy people that are just going to like slap me and beat me and whatever, I don't know what the hell I'm looking for. I'm a kid. I'm 23, like, woo. And then I will never forget this. Oh God, I never thought I'd tell a story. Oh my God. Okay. Whatever. We're already deep in this. People are probably so invested right now. So I go, like we hang out. I'm like, oh, that was great. Like, he's super controlling. This is interesting. I'm really attracted to this. He was controlling the situations at the restaurant. He was very, very old school in a lot of stuff. And then I go to see him again. Like, nothing sexual happens this first, whatever. We meet, we kind of talk about whatever. He's like, do you like whatever? And and I didn't even know about expressing limits or anything back then. Like I said, this is over a decade ago. But we had kind of a conversation like that. He's like, can you handle what? I was like, yeah. I like all that stuff. I like all that stuff. I didn't know what all that stuff was. Okay. So be careful what you wish for, because then I was not in network marketing yet. I was in direct sales. Okay. And so I'm on the phone. Here's another phone so I can give you the visual. So I'm like on the phone. I text him. I said, I'm at your house. Let's say I was supposed to be there at 4:30. I'm like, I'm at your house, but I'm just closing a deal really fast. But I'm in your driveway. I'll be in a minute. He's like, cool, no problem. So I'm closer, recruiter, still remember the girl's name because it is such a pivotal moment in my entire life. Okay. I walk after recruiting over 10,000 people. I still remember this girl's first and last name. That is how significant this moment in my life was. I walk in his house. He goes, hey, babe. I'm like, hey. He's like, how was it? I was like, really good. I closed it. Like, I'm really excited. He's like, you're 4 minutes late. I said, no, like I was here. He goes, no, you're 4 minutes late. I said, okay, I'm 4 minutes late. He goes, so do you know what happens now? I went,
Yep.
what?
Discipline time.
I was like, what do you mean? He goes, do you know what happens now? I said, no. He goes, well, now I turn the boss into a bitch. And I went,
Did he have to get a mop and bucket at that point?
pretty much. I mean, I didn't even know what to do. I thought that I was like, am I going to die? Like, you know, that little meme, it's like a Simpsons meme where the guy's like on a train. I don't even know the character's name. And it's like, I think I'm in danger. Chuckles. This is me. I'm like, I think I'm in danger. I think I'm in danger. And like, I walk up the stairs, you know, he's got this townhouse. We're like walking up the stairs. He smacks my ass harder than any, I mean, like hits me. I'm like, oh my God. Like I'm like literally bracing for impact. And long story short, I'm gonna cut out a bunch of details, but I can't tell you where he works because it's a government agency.
Sure.
Okay. So he's got like all, you know, whatever, think cop, but like higher. So for the first time in my life, I went to subspace because I was so scared. I'm shaking like crazy. Like, I mean, you know how it all works, whatever. People can Google if you don't know about this. Okay. But I will never forget what it did to my mind because for the first time ever, I no longer cared about the guy that's like, I'm sadist, whatever, because I identified part of myself that was so, I guess, taboo and so complex. And all I wanted to do was learn. I wanted to figure out how do I go back to that? I wanted to teach more people how to do that. And so I happened to be like in a sex and wellness company at the time, right? So I started doing my presentations. I'm like teaching everyone about BDSM. I'm trying to learn as much as possible about everything. I'm like, I've just got to dive in and find out as much as possible about this entire world. And so, you know, I was top seller and la, 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 la. And people kept thinking, oh God, and I've literally never talked about this until now, which is more than 10 years later, or publicly, I talk about it all the time with my girlfriends, but I realized I wasn't crazy at all. I realized that is just where my mind detaches. That is where I can shut off Boss Lee, to go back to this. That is where I can slip just wholly into Jessie Lee completely because I have no control. And even if I wanted control, you can't control anything when you are tied up or your brain is literally trying to figure out ways to basically fight for your life, but you can't do anything, you know? And so, yeah.
How comforting did you find that's a high stress, high exciting stage, but did you find comfort and almost a peace in that stage?
Yes, especially with good aftercare, which people can Google if you don't know what that is. No, it was almost like, it's like, that's my high. People are like, oh, so she doesn't do drugs. She doesn't really drink. She doesn't do all, you know, like list all the million things I don't do. Right. Because your brain can create a bajillion chemicals. Like it can create the cocktail of all cocktails if you can get there. And so that's what I chase.
Did that start grounding you then into, because you got a couple different avenues from there. There you could turn into, I'm not talking about you, but you can turn into a complete non-monogamous whore who has to just constantly see, almost like a heroin addict. Or did that give you better rooting in relationships that had more depth, regardless of the length of time? Meaning, did you, like I've talked to people, I'm into what's something's called the hot wife lifestyle, which is the opposite of cuckolding. Cuckolding is, you know, the man is insulted. Hot wife is, no, you're going out there, you're going to do this, you have rules. You do, the man tells the woman what to do.
Yes.
You can't, and a lot of women think I'm fucking people 24/7. I'm like, no, I crave intimacy with a person who has this type of mindset. But it took me a very long time to understand that. Did you find that you were chasing the dragon, so to speak, like a drug addict, or did you all of a sudden go, this is home, I like this, I need this within the compounds of an intimate relationship, and that's the only place it worked for you?
Stages to it. Like, I won't sit here and lie to you, right? There's for sure stages to it. There's people you think could be your dom forever, and then it just doesn't work out anymore, or things don't match, or timing doesn't work, or whatever. And so then there's times where, sure, I'll just go on a blast of just whatever, have fun and do the most. But there's not, like, for me, people, I think I have like, well, I don't really know what people think. I don't really care what people think, clearly. But, you know, it's like, how do I explain this? there is not no fulfillment in just the crazy casual sex. That's not true, because there's the physical whatever. I'm very direct in what I like, so I don't leave romantic or sexual encounters without being pleased. Okay, like that's just like not gonna happen. But it's when you get it's the relationships with the tremendous depth where somebody knows every inner working. They know a word that will just trigger your brain. They know the little tiny nuances and things that just control you and make you they know the little pet names and the whatever. And the dynamics I like are so based on trust. Like if I don't trust you, because you could, like, literally, I don't think people understand. You could kill me, okay? Like, in these situations, I could literally die. For sure. Like, for sure. I'm not into, like, some of the crazy, like, I don't like knife play or fire play or, like, some of these, like, really, really dangerous things. But, like, I like some dangerous stuff. So you could kill me. You're in a position to literally murder me.
That's full submission.
And the only way you're ever going to see that side to me, it's not date 1, it's not date 2, it's not date 5. No. So I know people think, oh my God, she has all this crazy whatever. Blah, blah. Yeah, I like getting bent over balconies. Who the hell doesn't? Okay. But there's stuff I like a lot more, and it's a lot.
Do you think
deeper.
that's where you're, I think maybe you have the opposite problem. It's not a problem. Don't take that the wrong way. You have the opposite issue where that's why you lose interest so much, because you're craving to get to a solid foundation in that point, but that takes a shit ton of vetting and trust. So maybe that's why you're in this. And this was not meant to be a therapy session this is meant to get in Jessie Lee's head, but it sounds like that's why you lose interest in these men, because they can't take you to that space where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's like, if I don't text you back, it's not because I don't have time to text. I don't know who needs to hear that. Okay. I got fast little fingers. Okay. If I need to text back, and if I'm freaking into it, like, I will text back like it's an emergency. Everything's SOS. Oh, you said hi? Like, nah, like if I'm into you, like, forget about it. I was texting. I introduced him as Dylan. His name's not Dylan. Okay. So I was like texting him earlier, and he said something. He's like, we were talking about, like, joking around about people trapping people, right? And I said, oh, I already trapped you. He's like, yeah, I know, because we were talking about, like, people, like, trap people with babies and whatever. And I was like, I don't really think I want kids, so whatever. And he's just like, he's like, what do you mean you're trapping me? I was like, hello. I was like, do you even have time to think about another woman? He's like, no, impossible. It's like, right, I'm trapping you. You're trapped. Like, you're never going to meet anyone else like me. Like, you're ruined. You're destroyed. He's like, yeah, I think you're right. I'm like, I know I'm right.
Oh my God.
But like, yes, to answer your question, the answer.
When's your birthday?
November 1st.
Oh, that fucking explains everything right there. Fucking
oh my God. Don't be so judgmental.
Do you know what your best match is?
I don't know. Tell me.
Pisces.
Yeah, that's what they say. Pisces and Cancers or whatever. Yeah.
Told you. March 15th. Where do you see your energy going? Project the next 5 years out, right? What do you ideally want if you have everything on the planet, right? You're successful. Do you want that relationship? Do you want to continue the flow to explore? Do you ever, like, there is an age factor, because I went through my 30s and 20s as a whore. Then when it came to 40s, I just didn't waste my time with people. It's like, fuck, you're not wasting my time. So do you see yourself getting, what do you see yourself becoming over the next 5 years or so?
My business is still my businesses are my children.
Sure.
Like, and that is such a, like, it's interesting, because I think if I'm not as powerful as I am, and if I don't continue to raise my power, it won't make submission nearly as fun for me. I don't know if that makes sense. So this has to continue to grow. And then it's finding someone or some bodies who are super supportive of that, and really a champion of that at the same time that they continue to put me in my place.
Oh, that means that if you get bored with yourself, you won't have a fulfilling relationship.
Right. Oh. For sure. So I can see myself absolutely having like a main relationship. Could even be it could be monogamous. I'm not open to it. I just see a lot more like it goes back to the kind of the boredom thing. It's like, I just like I just call it playing. I like playing, so I like the idea of just being totally wild and open and whatever. And who knows? I don't know. I just think it's a place where people are so judgmental, and the last thing I want to be is judgmental. So 5 years from now, God, I don't know. I really started diving really into exactly this side of me probably about 5 years ago. I think I, in a way, pushed it off for a while. I tried to do kind of like and I like being called good girl, but like the good girl thing that's, you're in, like, I've done the like the Ukrainian guy was not a BDSM relationship. There was nothing, like, it was like a normal traditional relationship. And I was bored to shit after a week and a half. But like, I was like, okay, we'll just keep this going. Cause he, like,
you're an anomaly. Most women do not find who they are so early. You're an anomaly. Women are not like you at all. So let's offer some advice. Let's close this out and explain what you think the biggest pointer you can give away to females who are looking to be successful, but also feminine in a relationship. What do they have to accept about themselves?
Okay. The biggest pointer, if you want to accept yourself, is to accept everything about yourself. I think people maybe even are listening to this and it's like you probably have those little demons inside yourself where you're like, wait, what? Huh? No, I could never. Well, how do you know? That's the one thing I think that allowed me to really step into the feminine after my Tony Robbins coach basically yelled at me, like, oh, you're so masculine all the time. You're never going to attract a dominant man. You're never going to attract an alpha male. You're always going to attract these beta men if you don't turn off the masculine. Accept who you are and try new things is my best advice. I would have never known, if I didn't say yes to hang, and I only hung out with him because I was like, I felt like it was high school coming to like a final lock on high school, like, oh, I've conquered high school. Check. It's the only reason I want, honestly, I'm going to be real with you guys. It's the only reason I said I would go on a date with this guy is I thought, oh, he was the hot football stud. Like, let me, close out high school with a bang now that I'm 23, So, and it wasn't that at all. And so I tried something new and it shifted so much of my life. And I wonder how many people listen to this late in their 30s or late in their 40s or late in their 50s or late in their 60s. And they're like, oh shit, I missed mine. You didn't miss anything. You got to try stuff, and people go, well, how do you find these people if I want to try some stuff, if I want to do whatever? There are so many wild people out there. People just act like they're a certain way. This is my first time ever openly talking about this kind of stuff. I'll just thank you for it because it feels very therapeutic. Actually, you said a therapy session, but it really does feel kind of therapeutic. Like, there's so many people that live behind this guise of I'm so innocent and I'm so perfect and I'm so clean cut and I'm so this and that. Like, those people end up being miserable. They're the people that are depressed. Some of you literally have anxiety, not because you have anxiety. You have anxiety caused by yourself because you're not actually living the life you want. Like, this is just the honest truth. And I find that these people are everywhere. You just have to be more open about it. You have to be more honest about it. I started just kind of dripping some stuff on my social media, maybe using the word lifestyle, or like I might say, I don't know, like little words here and there. And people like you were like, oh, little lady.
Oh, I slid in her DM, said flat out, you fucking motherfucker. You know what you're doing? Yeah, I told her flat out, I'm gonna touch your butt. Well, I think that there's, you go on, no, finish up, please.
No, I just want more people to try something. Like, your assignment would be try something new. Yeah. Have the open conversation. If you're in a monogamous relationship, I'm not telling you to be non-monogamous. I'm telling you, have a conversation with your partner and say, hey, we've literally had the same sex for 20 years. Would you be open to A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Hey, I got on Google and I saw this. Hey, I got on some like accidental kinky app or something. And I saw like all these things people do. And then people do this thing where some people, times they do this and some people do this and some people are into this. And I kind of want to try this. And I don't know, I might hate it. I might like it. People are out here really like yucking other people's yums left and right. People are so weirded out by this conversation. Probably half the reason why people are still listening. It's just the truth.
And we've done podcasts on this, on the reaction when your wife comes in the room and says, hey, I want 3 black guys tonight. And you're not supposed to go, what the fuck is wrong? You're supposed to go, all right, explain this to me so I understand. And we've done podcasts on the importance of that tonight too, as well. So that's huge.
I don't know. I think everyone should try something. If you're going to do like a Tinder or a Bumble or a Field or any of these apps or whatever, be honest on them, say what you're looking for. And people get weirded out like, well, I've never tried that. So say that, hey, new to this. Don't know what I'm doing. There are people who will guide you through this entire experience that love that. That's their kink. Their kink is taking the inexperienced people who don't know if they're a switch. They don't know if they're a dom. They don't know if they're a sub. They don't know shit about shit. And they're like, okay, let's play and let's find out what's actually going on with you. People are just too scared. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but life is pretty long, but life is also very short. And people living this miserable existence, my biggest tip is just try something new and you'll be shocked at the stuff you end up liking. You'll be shocked. You have a glow about you. Yeah, well, I know exactly why I got a glow about me, but we're not about to talk about, oh, it's because she went to Europe. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's because I went to Europe. Well, are you really that stupid? You think it's just because I went to Europe? Wake up. All
right, kids. There you have it. I think you might have another side calling that you got to start talking about this stuff more.
I do. Call in 3 minutes.
Oh, my God.
This went too fast. Oh, my God.
Yeah, we said half hour. We got an hour. All right, guys. And God Created a Woman. Thanks to Jessie Lee Ward. This was a fantastic conversation. We'll see you on the next podcast.